Peace, everybody. I'm going to try to explain as simple as I can what's happening with GameStop. So, a lot of wealthy hedge funds on Wall Street that manage trillions of dollars in assets for a lot of billionaires. Their job is a very hard job, is to try to make as much profit as they can for their clients. And there's a lot of greed that takes place on Wall Street. And something they have been doing, they have been shorting stocks of companies that are already struggling. What it means to short a stock, instead of buying a stock and waiting for the price to go up and sell it for a profit, they will borrow a stock that they don't own. They borrow the stock and then sell that stock at, let's say, $15. So they have sold a stock they don't own for $15. Then they hope the price of that stock goes down to, say, $10, and then they buy it back at the lower price. So then the transaction cancels out and they have a $5 per share profit, okay? When you do that with billions of dollars, that puts a lot of downward selling pressure on the stock. And so they can put up, billions of dollars to short a stock, and that's going to push the stock down in price because that's a lot of money coming in selling more than it's buying. And so what they're doing is they're targeting companies that are already struggling anyway because of changes in business, because of the pandemic. So if you look at GameStop, that was one of the most shorted stocks on the market. They had it shorted 140%, which means they've sold more shares than were even available, which on that level alone, that was already messed up. GameStop, as an example, is struggling because a lot of the video game systems allow you to download the games directly. So nobody has to go to GameStop anymore. You can just download your game straight to the PS5. Then you're in a pandemic. So many people have already lost their jobs. Companies are losing money. A lot of people have not gotten their stimulus checks, or the people who have gotten them are still struggling. It's a difficult environment. And in that environment, when these companies are trying to stay afloat and so many are going bankrupt, the greedy hedge fund managers are shorting those stocks anyway to try to get and squeeze extra profits out for their people, right? So it's already kind of a messed up situation. And some total strangers on the internet in Reddit, in a group called Wall Street Bets, said they were sick of it, and they literally put all their money together to try to do something about it, and they started buying the stocks that were being shorted. Now listen, if you borrow and sell a stock at $15 hoping for it to go down, that's your profit, but this has unlimited risk. What if the stock goes up? If the stock that you bought that you borrowed and sold at 15 gets pushed up to 40, now you have a real problem. You owe $25 per share on that stock, and you have to pay it back. And the longer you wait, the more interest you owe. And theoretically, the price of that stock can increase to infinity, and your debt will increase too. And so these strangers put their money together. People were putting up crazy amounts of money, thousands of dollars. They pushed GameStop. I think the stock was $15, somewhere around there. They pushed it to over $400, which is crazy. So that's like $385 per share that these hedge funds would have owed. One hedge fund called Melvin Capital got in so much debt, they had to borrow $3 billion to try to stay afloat, hoping the stock would go back down, and it still kept going up even more. So they lost that $3 billion plus however many billion they put down shorting the stock to begin with out of greed. And so it caused so much chaos and ruckus that these hedge funds and people on Wall Street are losing their minds, that they call people retail investors, they call retail investors dumb money, because these ordinary people who don't have MBAs and finance backgrounds got together on the internet as strangers and found out a way to outsmart the Wall Street people and did it. This has never happened before, okay? Now, so by tomorrow's Friday, in the stock market, there are options and they normally expire on Fridays. By tomorrow, if GameStop is still over $200, then those hedge funds they're gonna be required to buy additional shares at the higher price, which means they're gonna lose money in order to close out those positions, which means they're gonna have even more, it's gonna lock in their losses. And for the people that are holding, them being required to buy more shares is going to push the price up even further, okay? Which is going to even be more money for the crazy retail people. Which, side note, this is not an investment you should do. This is total speculation and gambling. I haven't been a part of it. My money's tied up in other investments, so I'm just watching from the sidelines, but it's very interesting. But it's not something you should do. These stocks, AMC, GameStop, they do have a lot of challenges. This is just an unprecedented situation. And people are doing this just off principle. But what's messed up is, because these hedge fund people are billionaires, they have all this money and resources. The Citadel, which owns and controls Robinhood, as I understand it, told Robinhood to stop allowing retail investors to buy GameStop and AMC. So they shut down the ability to buy the stocks for everybody else like you and me today on multiple platforms. Robinhood, TD Ameritrade, I think Webull, they might have opened back up later, but they literally started trying to stop people from being able to buy this stock, only allowing you to sell it so that they could try to control how much debt that ordinary people are causing to hedge funds, which is totally unfair. And it's like changing the rules mid-game when suddenly the peasant has figured out a way to make a little bit of a profit or with an edge. So now there's lawsuits already being piled up and pending. If you have AOC and Ted Cruz agreeing on something online, that tells you how serious this is. So they're trying to even the playing field here, and they're pressuring these exchanges to stop allowing people to buy these stocks so that the hedge funds can stop bleeding, which is totally unfair. I've never seen this before. So it'll be very interesting tomorrow to see how this pans out, because they are pissed, and people are just holding. But on the positive side, real money has been made here by people. I saw this group, like I said, on Reddit. People posted screenshots showing how they paid off their student loans from this. There's a guy whose mom had cancer and he's able to pay the treatments, the medical bills now. I saw a guy put up $50,000 and made 11 million. So it's kind of interesting just to see that ordinary people who are struggling, there's people who are really having a hard time who threw a little money on this as a gamble and actually got a good return, and it changed their lives. So the one time that average ordinary people were actually able to benefit from something from Wall Street, when they feel like Wall Street always takes from them. A lot of people in that group were teenagers in 2008 during the financial crisis, and they noticed all these Wall Street firms and banks got bailouts, but the ordinary retail people, we never get bailouts. So they feel like, they're always getting the bailouts. This is the one time that the people came together and figured something out, and now the rules to the game are starting to change. So I think this is going to end up pushing a lot of people towards crypto and Bitcoin, because you cannot control and regulate Bitcoin the same way that you do with traditional stocks. It's decentralized. You can't just, Bitcoin is a software. It automatically runs on its own. It's pre-programmed. You can't just turn it off and shut it down. So I think a lot of those angry investors and that money is going to pull over into that direction. That's my personal prediction that's going to come from this. But anyway, just wanted to share that. Hopefully it explains it a little bit so that it makes a little bit more sense. This is totally unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this, and it's fascinating to watch and see how it turns out. Peace.